All right, so let us talk about workflows. Workflows for wedding photographers. Of course, you can also use the same process even if you don't shoot weddings. Portraits, lifestyle, whatever it is, it's all similar. You know, it's important that as a professional photographer, you have a structure when it comes to how you handle your workflow. This will help you maintain your database. It will also help you avoid unforeseen circumstances that may come up. If you are growing as a photographer, you naturally think you will remember everything. But as you evolve, believe me, you will remember everything. So you need to set structures in place to help you. And that is where workflows come to play. After you have executed a project, you've shot the wedding, you have 5,000 pictures, you shot on 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards, 5 cameras, whatever you've done, it's important that you understand workflow. You know, in this class, I'll be showing you guys my own process because these things vary. It's relative. Different people have different processes when it comes to these things. But in this particular session, we'll focus on what works for me and what I believe would also work for you when it comes to creating your own workflow. That's the post-production stage. So we have the pre-production. We have pre-production. And we have what? Post-production. So, of course, this is mainly focused on post-production because it's happening after the shoot. Pre-production is mostly around the shooting itself. You know, mostly around the shooting itself, but post is definitely after the shooting itself. So we'll talk about the stages, then we'll break it down. So what's the first stage when it comes to post-production process, workflow? Who can tell me? What's the first stage? Backup. Use the right words. Why are you copying it? So the first stage is backup. I've seen photographers that would shoot a project and the job will be in the memory card for the next 3 months. You know, it's like you put fire like this. You put it under your bed and you want it to burn. You know, I've seen photographers that, make sure that camera is focusing on me. I've seen photographers that who have worked with me over time that I will call them after a few months and say, oh, that particular project you did for me, can we still access it? And the person will say, oh, it's still in the card or something. You have to understand that backup is the best way you can safeguard your files. If you're a photographer and you're still keeping jobs in your memory card, you have not started. And I just hope you don't put yourself in any deep mess before it's too late. One of the most fragile devices that you have is your memory card. Very fragile. It's something that can easily break. It's something that can easily get corrupted. It's something that can easily damage. It's not very strong, even if you are using the best quality ones. It's important that the moment you do a project, you get it out of there as fast as you can. Professionally, you are supposed to have 2 storage, even 3. Let's just run through the 3. Professionally, you're supposed to have 3 storage when it comes to backup. You know, you are a wedding photographer and all of that. You're supposed to have 3 storage. You're supposed to have your main drive. You have your main drive. You have your work drive. And you have your archive. There's no way you will find yourself in a case where you have to call a client and say, oh, I'm sorry this happened, if you have this system in place. Your main drive, your work drive, and your archive. So let's start with the archive. You already know what that means. Archive is where you store that particular file without having any reason to touch it. So the archive is just a place to dump your files and keep. So your archive can be either cloud or what do we call it? Cloud means online. On drive or whatever. So you can just say drive. So it's either cloud or drive when it comes to your archive. So in this part of the world, in this part of the world, we tend to just stick to on real life drives because of the costs of uploading significant form of data. An average wedding is over 100 gig, if I'm correct, with the 2 cards and everything. It's over 100 gig. And uploading 100 gig in this part of the world can be something. It's not like it's not possible, but yeah, probably in this, over there, maybe. So we'd rather stick to having an archive drive. Then you have your main drive. Your main drive is the normal drive that you have in your office. You can share that drive with your fellow colleagues, your fellow team members. You don't really do much work on it, but sometimes you might do minimal work on it. So it's just a normal drive that, okay, give me this drive. Okay, let me copy this. You can pass it to someone. You can send it to your colleague. That's a regular drive, because you have an archive. Even if something happens to that main drive, you're still good to go, because your job is still in your archive. Then you now have your work drive, which is your own personal drive. So for the main parts now, for main drives now, main drive can be HDD drives. So when it comes to hard drive, we have SSD and we have HDD. We have other ones too, but these are the common ones. We have SSD and we have HDD. So SSD are usually faster than HDD, but HDD are cheaper. So because they are cheaper, you can buy drives that have much space. For example, you can buy an HDD of 5 terabytes. You can also buy SSD of any size, but they are crazy expensive. But SSD are faster. So your work drive should be an SSD. Very important, because it will help you work faster. Believe me, the device you use plays a crucial role in your performance, in your timeline. If you can be working on some drives and you will spend 1 hour, and if you had used a different drive, you would have spent half the time. So your work drive can be SSD. Your main drive should be HDD. Archive too should be HDD. I don't know the full meaning of this HDD. Who knows? Higher drive. All right, so that's it. So for the storage, so you store your files, you do your backup. It's important that when you are doing your backup, you make sure at least minimum, you have 2 drives. So you don't really have to have all of these 3. You can just have your archive and your work drive. So your archive is in a safe place while you move around with your work drive. SSD preferably, if you can afford one. So that's the backup stage. So you copy your jobs. For the most part, if you are shooting a wedding, you tend to use more than one camera, more than one memory card. So when you're copying, you copy per folder. So you can call it card 1, card 2. That's what I do. We have card 1, we have card 2. So that when I'm doing my culling, which is another word for selection, I will just follow the cards, then I will now sort it when I get to Lightroom. So we'll get to that. So from the backup stage, we move to what's culling. Culling. This is same as selection. So sometimes we would have the customer select. Sometimes we select ourselves. For the most part, we handle the selection when it comes to weddings. When it comes to photo shoot like pre-wedding and co, the client tends to select all of that. So culling and selection, the number one tool that is used for culling and selection is what? Photo mechanic. So that's if you want to do it manually. If you want to cull and select manually, photo mechanic is the best, fastest you can use to cull. They designed the software in a way that it optimizes the files. I don't know what they do behind the scene. A lot of why did I say it helps the file to be faster. So even though it's raw and you expect it to be slow, by the time you're scrolling through those files, photo mechanic would help you make sure you don't have to go through that hassle. So if you want to do it automatically, the best app to use is called Aftershoot. Of course, it's not free. It's an AI-powered app that helps you select your images in few minutes without you having to do the work. So that's for automatic AI-powered platform. But if you want to do it manually, Photo Mechanic is best, where you select your images. Selection is very important. If you shoot weddings frequently, you know that your pictures will be in thousands. You can't edit 1,000, 5,000, 3,000 pictures. It makes no sense because you are shooting auto mode on your camera, and you take a lot of shots, fast shots, continuous shots, whatever. So it's natural that you select the images. Then from there, we copy our selection, of course. We copy our selection to our work drive. We copy our selection to our work drive, and we add to Lightroom. So we do the first stage edits. We do the first stage edits. So when it comes to the selection, I do the 2 types of selection. 2 types of selection. We select the portraits and what? The events. select the portraits and the events, because our market portrait is important here. So we select the portraits and the events. Select the portraits and the events. So we do the first stage edit. First stage edit involves color grade. It involves color grade. So the color grade, you color grade the events. We color grade the events and the portraits. We color grade the events and the portrait, and of course, the portrait gets to the second stage of edits, which is where you do the retouch. But we don't retouch the events. There might be some unique images from the event that you would like to retouch, though. Maybe first dance, or there's a place the bride is dancing in that looks very beautiful, or any shots that you think you would like to use to promote as a portfolio, or the client wants you to do extra work on, of course. But for the most part, event pictures are being color graded, while portraits go through the second stage. From color grading, we now move to retouching. We move to retouching. All of this has to be done on your work drive. Remember, as you are working on your work drive, your main drive, your archive must be chilling somewhere, because technical difficulties can happen, virus can attack your system, anything can happen, and you end up losing your files. So portraits gets to the second stage, which is retouching. And I must say, when you are exporting your events from Lightroom, do we have wedding photographers that don't use Lightroom to edit events? Yeah. Okay, yeah, Capture One, yes.
For events, it's hard.
Yeah. No, for events, Capture One is not that hard, though. It's because we are not used to it here. Capture One is just like Lightroom now. It's just like Lightroom. So I've used Capture One in a particular phase of this business before for events, and we're fine. But I just got tired of it because I don't know. I just like the natural color Lightroom gives over Capture One. That's just personal preference. So for events, there's a particular settings where you sort your files. Very important. A particular setting where you sort your files, because remember that you're bringing in 2 or more cards into the system to work on. So they must be shot at different times of the day. So it's better that you sort your file so that all of the images from different cards can sync together. Just to add, when you're about to shoot, that's at the production stage itself. Make sure all of the cameras you are shooting, the dates and the time are set to the same time. The date and time must be actual, that to the second. To the second, not just time. It must be so that. So the best way to do it: take the 2 cameras, open the date and time settings, set the time, and make sure you are pressing OK at the exact same time. So it's really advised for one person to do it and just press it at once, ma'am, so that it will sync. So by the time you are sorting it on Lightroom or Capture One, you can sort by capture time. Capture time. So when you sort by capture time, it automatically arrange the image for you, even if you use 5 cards. It will arrange it according to those times that it was shot. So your image will not look scattered. You know, your image will not look scattered. So you sort by capture time. So when you sort by capture time, by the time you are exporting out of the software, you can now export by name. It's easy because everything is arranged. Just change the export by name. Maybe for Rare Magic, for example, you can say RM. Just click name. I think sequence in sequence form. But if you click name alone, it will the first image can become the last. There's a way it works. I don't know how to explain it. But click on name sequence and just name it, maybe RM or ABC, whatever name you want to call it. So you just start from that image, and by the time you have exported your image, all of them are properly arranged, even if you use more than one camera, so it doesn't look all scattered. So that is how the export stage look like. Okay, so now after your export is done, you move to the delivery stage, and it's important that you know that your delivery, the way you deliver your image is very important. There was a time in my business where we just send all the pictures on WhatsApp. You know, by the time in my career, we just dump everything on WhatsApp, and if you like save it, if you like don't save it, that's your problem. You know, sometimes there was a point where we use WeTransfer, and as you guys know, WeTransfer expires after 7 days. And that year, we just spent WeTransfer, and the client can't even access it. Even we can't access it. Everything is bad. So your presentation is important, and it's important that you help your clients. You know, I don't think you should be delivering image to your clients where they can't access the image after 1 year or 2 years. It doesn't make sense. Where they would have to be looking for you after 6 months to send the image to them. Of course, It's advisable that they download the image to whatever device they have, but it's also good that they have something stored in the cloud. It's edited, so it's not like it's heavy. It's depends. It's not raw. You can't store raw files for your client, but at least the edited can be stored in the cloud. So that at least the best platforms you can use for that is Google Drive, right? Google Drive, Dropbox. But if you want to go more fancy, more fancy, this one are just like folders, just like your normal system folders. It's just on the cloud. So it's not very fancy, but it's very good, very durable. But if you want to go more fancy, then you have many other platforms like PixieSet. We have Pass Plus. A lot. We have Sprouts. I can't seem to remember the rest now. We have quite a good number of platforms that you can use for those ones with fancy. It looks like a website. You have fancy homepage, you have the name of the client, everything looking all beautiful with the images, the online gallery. They can even favorite the ones they like, and you'll be seeing what they are doing from your end. They can share with their family and friends. Very lovely platforms. And the advantage of all of these other platforms is that you don't have to. You will not only use it to do your what's it called now, your online gallery. You can also do other things on it, like your invoicing, your calendar, your scheduling, many things. It's like you can really run your business on some of this. Using some of these platforms. Of course, they are not free. I don't think there's anyone that is free, including the Google Drive and Co. But if you want to save money, the cheapest you can use is Google Drive or Dropbox. The cheapest, not as fancy, but it's the way to go if you don't want to spend more money when it comes to the delivery. And it's important that you have good cloud storage. It's important that you have good cloud. You cannot be a professional without cloud storage for the sake of your customer and for your own sake. For us now, we have cloud storage for all of our jobs done. So even if something happens, maybe a job we did last year, something happens to Drive, we have it on the Drive. We have it on the cloud. It's there, even after 5 years. The jobs we did 3 years ago, as long as it was uploaded to Drive for the client, it stays there. And the beautiful thing about all of this cloud storage is that they are very durable because these are reputable companies, like Google. Google Drive, now they use AWS, that's Amazon Web Server. Amazon, they are the owner of the server these guys use. So it's not something that they will say they close down. Also, our website, our platform is no more working. It will never stop working. Because the amount of space available in the cloud, the whole world, we can't exhaust it. It's literally inexhaustible. It's the same space Netflix is using. You know how many movies on Netflix? And the same space that Amazon Prime is using. It's the same server. To tell you how much they can handle. So not to talk of how many gig are you even using, sir. Here you get. So it's advisable to use all of this platform. Don't just go and use random websites. Because we have a lot of platforms, plenty out there, that are owned by people that you can use it, it's cheaper, and you put your work there, and suddenly one day you just notice that the site is no more working or something. So it's better that you settle for reputable platforms so as to give you confidence when it comes to your work. Any questions?